Hello, chess fans! This is Rick from Chess to Progress with number 20 in the series Viewers Games. This one is from Victor from Mexico, and he's playing Julio from Colombia, so we have a Latin American clash here. Victor says, "Hello Rick, I really like your videos. In this game I was white and my opponent Julio was black. It's an online game with 10 minutes per player. On the 20th move my opponent got a passed pawn and I felt I had a little disadvantage. However, he started a series of tactical moves with 21 bishop c5 check, and he used many technical tools to completely defeat me. I know I didn't defend adequately, but it's at least an illustrative game. Cheers from Mexico." Thank you, Victor. Let's look at the game. Victor was white, Julio was black. e4, c5, the Sicilian defense, bishop c4, d6, knight f3, a6, a3, e6, knight c3, bishop d7, Victor castled, knight f6, d3, h6, b4, b5, kicking the bishop, bishop went to a2, and knight c6, which is the first instructive moment of the game. What you have to see here is that the pawn on b4 is hanging, it's attacked twice, and only defended once. And Victor did not see this. He played knight e2, he played it after 37 seconds, so it was not a quick move without thinking, but he had missed that he's losing now the pawn on b4. What he should have played, the best move in this position, is to take on c5, and after black takes back, then you can play e5. And that kicks the knight to a less good square, because the knight cannot go to d5. As you can see, if it goes to d5, then that knight is only protected once and attacked twice. So Victor will win a pawn there. Back to the position after knight c6. As said, Victor played knight e2, and Julio won a pawn by taking on b4, a takes and knight takes. Bishop b3 from Victor, a5. Now black has this passed pawn that Victor was talking about in his introduction. c3, knight back to c6, knight ed4, the knights were swapped, and bishop e7. f4 from Victor, e5, f takes, d takes, and the knight went to the strong square f5. Julio did not want to keep that knight alive there, so he took, and rook takes. Now it is Julio's turn to blunder a pawn. He castled here after thinking for 14 seconds. He should have played queen c7 to protect the pawn on e5. He just overlooked that now Victor can take that pawn and wins his pawn back this way. a4, and here Victor played bishop a2. Here black had a very interesting move based on the unprotected position of the rook on e5 and the weak a7 g1 diagonal. If the queen can go to d4 with check, black wins the rook on e5. And that's why there's a nice tactic here with either bishop b4 or b4. Let's look at bishop b4. You cannot take that bishop because of queen d4 check, winning the rook. And pushing the pawn to b4, it has the same idea. Not easy to find, but if you see that fork on d4, then you might get the idea to try and dislodge the c3 pawn from protecting the d4 square. Instead, Julio played bishop c5 check, starting a series of tactical moves, as Victor called it in his introduction. It looks like a big blunder, just putting the bishop on a square that is covered by the rook. Rook takes c5 is indeed the right move, and here we see Julio's idea. He took on e4, and that knight cannot be taken because then the queen on d1 will disappear. The rook is hanging, and here the best move is bishop e3. Then the best move for black is to take on c5 and bishop takes c5. White has the bishop pair for rook and pawn, and white is better in this position. But Victor did not see that defense. He played rook d5 after 25 seconds. It looks like a good move, a good in-between move, hitting the queen and taking the rook out of the attack. But it doesn't work because of the weak diagonal a7 to g1. Because black played queen b6 check, and now Victor played rook d4. That's probably what he had in mind. He probably had seen queen b6 check, I presume, and he thought I'd just play rook d4. And now he's a little bit unlucky that the tactics favor black. Instead of rook d4, Victor could have played d4, but then there is knight takes c3 with a fork, queen d2, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, and rook a d8. Black will win the pawn on d4, and then we'll have 3 pawns and a rook for the 2 bishops. And that is a lot of material. Black is better. But Victor played rook d4, and now we see some nice tactics. Knight takes c3, the queen is attacked, the rook is attacked. Yes, you can solve both problems in one go with queen g4, defending the rook, but black took on d4 anyway. You have to take back, and there is that famous knight fork, knight e2 check, king h1, and knight takes d4. Black is decisive material up, an exchange, and 2 pawns. The game goes on for a while, but there's no way back, there's no counterplay for white. Bishop e3 he played, black played rook a d8, missing another tactic. That knight could even have done more damage with knight c2, winning more material. But rook d8 doesn't spoil anything. Rook b1 from Victor, knight b3, bishop takes, and here is another nice tactic. Rook takes d3, attacking both bishops. A rook fork, you can say. Bishop takes a4, b takes a4, bishop c5, rook fd8, and now white leaves his back rank. Rook b7, there was no way to save the position anyway. Rook d1 check, bishop g1 only move, rook e8, preparing to move that second rook to the first rank, rook a7, and rook e1, and Victor resigned. An interesting game, an entertaining game, good quality as well, apart from white blundering the pawn on b4 and then black returning the favor with the pawn on e5. I liked Julio's bishop c5 check move, a very creative move, not easy to refute even though it was not a correct sacrifice. Victor did not find the right defense. Of course it was a 10-minute game, and we can say that bishop c5 check just confused his opponent enough to win the game. So one of the important things in chess is recognizing critical positions. When do you need to spend some time? In this case, after rook takes c5, knight takes e4, that was a critical position. Victor thought for 25 seconds, he probably should have taken a bit more time, and then he may have found the refutation of black's sacrifice with bishop e3. So that's the only thing I really can give to Victor from this game. Try and recognize the crucial positions and then use some extra time. But that's not easy in a blitz game. Hope you enjoyed Victor's game. Victor, thank you very much for sending it to me. If you like the game, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess2 Progress channel. I'm looking forward to your comments. And if you like the video, please share it on YouTube. You also may want to check out my Chess2 Impress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess2 Progress. Thank you very much for watching.